Let's say that one day you and some friends get absolutely smashed and decide to retake the Holy Land. Unfortunately for you, the Pope has banned crusading in all formats. Desperate, you turn to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by Hasbro. This joke doesn't have a punchline. Crusade is legal in old school 93-94. Okay, by now you're probably asking, why am I still watching this video? And to answer that question, dear viewer, Old School 93-94 is a Magic the Gathering format in which only cards printed in the first 2 years of the game's history are legal, as well as reprints that maintain the original art and border. Part of the appeal of Old School Magic is that it takes you back to Magic's earliest days. Magic as Garfield intended, as some would say. Another part of the appeal is that it is a community format, one which, unlike others, is free from WotC's disgusting meddling. The 93-94 rules, ban lists, and tournaments are all managed by passionate members of the MTG community, some of which have been playing this way exclusively for over 20 years now. Their disconnect from the wider player base is so great, in fact, that when Wizards of the Coast decided to ban a handful of cards for some reason, the old school community collectively decided to ignore them and continue having fun. And that brings us back to our earlier discussion. Let's say that you did, for whatever reason, have 4 copies of Crusade lying around, but alas, it is banned everywhere. Oh wait, no, not that Crusade. Or that one. Or that one! Seriously, what the— Paying 2 mana to give all white creatures a permanent +1/+1 bonus doesn't seem all that impressive by today's standards, but back in the earliest days, that buff made all the difference in the world, and having several of these out at once could turn even the weeniest of whites into anchor-armed jerks. But 4 Crusades alone aren't enough for a deck, and trust me when I say this, the cost of entry into Old School can be fucking intimidating. Some of the cards that are popular in this format have never had a reprint, I fucking wonder why, and have price tags in the thousands. But fear not, you don't have to go into debt and work the corner just to play some good old-fashioned Magic. Budget decks exist, even here. And so, we get to Mono White. If you want to retake the Holy Land, what you'll need is a Crusade, and if you want to Crusade, what you'll need is an army. White Weenies is a tried-and-true archetype that stood the test of time, and with it, we're gonna DEUS VULT all over Old School 93-94. Now one last thing before we begin. This is not a deck tech. It is instead a handy tool to help guide people who may be interested in giving Old School Magic a try, people who may not want to invest the funds necessary to make a top-tier deck. With that being said, here is the budget guide to Mono White in Old School 93-94. By now, you're probably familiar with Crusade, but just in case you weren't paying attention for the last few minutes, I'll introduce it for you. Crusade is an enchantment that costs 2 white mana and gives all white creatures +1 power and toughness. Yes, this is all white creatures, even the opponents. Crusade's power comes from the fact that it can turn chump blockers and budget creatures into serious powerhouses, especially if you get multiple copies out. White Weenies has 1-drops in abundance, with 2 of the most famous choices being Savannah Lions and Tundra Wolves. Both cost 1 mana and have 1 toughness, but each is better than the other depending on the situation. Savannah Lions has 2 power, allowing it to trade with slightly larger foes. Tundra Wolves only has 1 power, but that first strike ability means it can wipe out anything with only 1 toughness coming your way. And then there's Banalish Hero, who's got banding. And if you don't know what banding is, well— any creatures with banding up to 1 without can attack the band. Bands are blocked as a group. If any creature with banding you control are blocking or being blocked by a creature, you can divide that creature's combat damage down its controller among any other creatures being blocked by or is blocking. Basically, Banalish Hero gives you the opportunity to dictate where damage is going whenever she enters combat alongside another creature. If a Hill Giant is coming your way, you can double block with Banalish Hero and a Savannah Lion. Have all that Hill Giant's power go to hit Banalish Hero, saving your Savannah Lion for future blocks, or the other way around. Essentially, banding gives you serious versatility when it comes to combat and damage. It's a complex but neat ability from the game's earliest days. Moving on, what kind of crusade would this be without Crusaders? The White Knight costs 2 white mana, has 2 power and 2 toughness. It has both protection from black and first strike. The power of God himself renders this knight immune to demonic fuckery, a true sign of the holiness at play here. Your knightly retinue can also include the Order of Lightbearer, another 2-cost Holy Crusader who laughs in the face of Satan's bullshit. This 2/1 doesn't just have protection from black, it can also pay 2 mana to give itself an extra power until the end of turn, or 1 mana to gain first strike. Depending on the situation, this can be far more powerful than the White Knight. If your opponent is being extra heretical, you can play the Witch Hunter, a 4-drop that can tap to deal damage to any target, or pay 3 and tap to bounce problematic creatures back to the owner's hand. Acacian Javelineers is a 1/1 for 1 that enters play with a Javelin counter. Tapping the Javelineers allows you to sacrifice that counter to deal 1 damage to anything, which can really come in handy not only in combat, but in finishing off an opponent. There's plenty of other choices too, such as the Pikeman, Mesa Pegasus, and even Triskelion, and any, all, or none of these cards may be great for your deck depending on how you want to play. But one creature you can't do without is the very embodiment of God's will, the Serra Angel. Costing a whopping 5 mana for a 4/4 with flying and vigilance, Serra Angel doesn't seem like much to modern-day Magic, but in the earliest days of the game, she was an absolute powerhouse. In Old School 93-94, Serra Angel is one of the best creatures you could cast, rivaled only by the average Australian and Margaret Thatcher. Serra Angel is incredibly powerful, but maybe you don't want to wait to show your heathen opponents that God is on your side. Fret not, you can imbue any creature you have on board with Holy Strength, which gives them 1 power and 2 toughness for 1 mana. For 4 mana, you can instead cast Divine Transformation, a +3/+3 buff that might seem excessive, but really can end games. Any creatures that give you trouble can be deleted from existence with Swords to Plowshares, and Disenchant takes care of pesky artifacts and enchantments. If the Sinners have a lead on you, Balance can help you equalize the board. Wrath of God can similarly get you out of an overwhelming situation, wiping the slate clean when the enemy has too many creatures to deal with. Also, you could play Armageddon if you're an asshole. While we're on the topic of being an ass, Kismet is a 4-cost enchantment that makes all of your opponent's artifacts, creatures, and lands come into play tapped, giving you a serious in-game advantage and less friends out of the game. There's very little in terms of budget ramp in Old School, so Felwar Stone is a godsend for speeding the deck up just a bit. Any of these Circle of Protection enchantments could be useful additions to your deck based on what you commonly come up against. There are 5 in total, each allowing you to pay 1 mana to negate 1 damage from a specific color source. Spirit Link is an enchantment that gains you life whenever the enchanted creature deals damage. Note, this is not like Lifelink, as if you put it on an opponent's creature, you will be the one who gains life. Eleopile is a 2-drop artifact that lets you pay a mana, tap, and sacrifice it to deal 2 damage to anything. The Rack is an artifact that punishes your opponents for not having a full hand, and Tormod's Crypt lets you sacrifice it to clear the enemy's graveyard. With a budget, the only real lands you'll play besides basic plains is Mishra's Factory, a land that either taps for a colorless mana, or can temporarily become a 2/2 for 1 mana, or it can increase the power of other Mishra's Factories that have turned into creatures. There's plenty of other affordable cards to choose from if you're interested in giving old Magic a try, but these are, in my opinion, the best options for most deck builders. With these cards at your disposal, you should have no trouble getting started with the format. And who knows, maybe you can be convinced to put Charizard in your deck one day. Old School 93-94 is a fascinating format, one with quite the community. If you're interested in learning more about the format or maybe watching some gameplay, go check out Timmy Talks, the channel where they talk old school Magic. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please play a game of Old School Magic with the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video with your friends. If you have a suggestion for a character or event for me to cover on this channel, feel free to leave a comment below. If you want to support me directly, well, there's a Patreon link in the description. patrons get access to my lore videos early, and thanks to their support, I can finally afford to buy a gallon of gas. Thanks again, and have a great day.